Hello, I'm Devin, and I'm exhausted. I was gonna make a video today about brain fog, um, but then, see what had happened was I woke up with brain fog. So, making a coherent video about why I can't make coherent videos didn't seem like the best idea today. So instead, I am going to talk about something else. Today, I thought that I would talk about something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. More so as my classes are ramping up, as my doctor's appointments are rolling in, and my body is feeling the shift in the atmosphere. That means that winter is coming soon and is choosing to die. And that thing is balance, or in my case, a lack thereof. I don't mean balance as in physical balance, like being able to stand and balance on something, although I don't really have that either. But the balance I'm talking about is more weighing activities, weighing tasks, prioritizing things, and making sure that you have a sustainable balance of things in your life, and I've always really struggled with that. I am what many have called me in the past, and what I kind of call myself. I'm a bit of a try-hard, and I tend to overachieve. And I've realized recently, since being diagnosed with dyslexia, and since realizing all of my cognitive issues and all of my illnesses that were kind of dormant for a lot of my life, is that I kind of overcompensated because I felt like I wasn't at the same level as everyone else, which I kind of wasn't. But I tried way harder than I probably should have just to succeed, kind of. But that resulted in me just building up habits of overachieving and building up kind of harmful habits of never really giving myself a break and never really learning what balance is. But I've realized through a lot of therapy and a lot of trial and error and a lot of failing, honestly, that balance is extremely important, and it's important to acknowledge the fact that you have to have balance in your life in order to keep doing things, because just going like the Energizer Bunny in every aspect of your life is not sustainable. And I learned that the hard way because I tried to do everything all the time, all at the same time, at the same level, just giving 110%, and then I would crash. And now, since I've gotten sick over the past couple of years, I've noticed that I can't really do that anymore because the effects are so much greater than they used to be, that doing that is just not realistic. And I had to find another way to do things because that's just not what was working for me. A lot of people seem to think that finding balance means cutting out a lot of things in your life, or just not doing things, limiting the amount of activities you do, not having fun in life. Finding balance a lot of the time means that people tend to prioritize only work things, and that their balance between like work and play is that there's way more work than there is play, and that that's a valid balance. But in reality, that just leads to burnout. What I found personally is that for me, balance is more assessing what I'm capable of doing and prioritizing what needs to be done. So, an example of that is today and yesterday, I've been very sick. I'm pretty sure I'm in the middle of a flare up. I have multiple conditions that I'll probably make videos on in the future, probably the near future. But all of them seem to be flaring up at the same time. And I also have a bunch of classes and a bunch of work and a bunch of doctor's appointments and advising appointments and club meetings and a bunch of other stuff all piled up on top of each other. And so, because of the fact that I'm really, really bad at finding balance, I'm pretty sure that contributed to the fact that I'm flaring right now and I've crashed. So yesterday, it hit me and I had to skip my last 3 classes of the day, and I only had 4 classes because my balance was off. Because if a tower is made up of really uneven, staggered, disproportioned bricks, it's going to fall at some point. And my tower just fell yesterday, so it's still kind of fallen. It made me think about the fact that, like, balance isn't perfect either, because the way that I've gone about this semester so far, because I'm in college, I've been attempting to have balance. I've been, okay, I'll do this assignment and then I'll take a break for a bit, because I know that if I don't, my fatigue will get really bad, and then it'll continue to get really bad, and then I won't be able to do X thing later. Or I'll say, okay, I need to have a list of definite things that have to be done today, and then for the rest of the time, I'm going to spend the time taking care of myself. Stuff like that. But I think my issue was that I wasn't actively continuing to make those things happen. I wasn't actively thinking, okay, I should be making sure that my life is balanced. I should be making sure that I'm assessing how I'm feeling, I'm assessing what I need to be doing, and I'm acting accordingly. Because it's so easy to just go back into old habits. It's so easy to fall into how the world works, where everyone is kind of in a rat race all the time, and if you're not doing things constantly, then you're failing. And if you're not giving your all 100% of the time, then you're failing. And I think it's particularly difficult for people who have chronic illnesses or disabilities like me, because we already feel like we're not doing enough, and then being in a setting where everyone around you is doing so much more than you're doing, you kind of have a tendency to offset that balance, even though you know that that's a bad idea and that that's going to hurt you in the long run. But I've learned from that, and personally, I am, 1, holding myself accountable with this video, and 2, putting it out into the world that it's important to take this into consideration, that keeping balance in your life should be a priority. If you're not prioritizing yourself, and if you're not prioritizing the things that add things to your life, then you're not going to be able to sustain that energy that you're giving. You may be able to do it in spurts. You may be able to do it for a really long time, it seems, and then that just becomes your normal. But at some point, a building that's built with bricks that are disproportioned and bricks that are haphazardly thrown together is going to fall. And the only way to prevent that from happening is to make sure that everything is in its place and everything is balanced throughout your entire life. Your life is the building. You are the building, but you can't just throw bricks there. Even if everyone around you is just throwing bricks all over the place, you have to be conscious of what you're doing and how it's affecting you and your body and your mental health and your life and what direction you want to take your life in, because otherwise you just end up a bunch of dust. I feel a little dusty right now. This video is kind of all over the place because I just sat down, didn't write anything out. But I do think it's really important to think about. I think it's really important for everyone to be really self-aware of what they're doing and how they're feeling and how their actions are affecting them specifically. I think there's very much a push in society to always pay attention to how your actions are affecting other people. Always pay attention to how you're treating other people in the world. And yes, that's extremely important. Please pay attention to how you're treating other people, because, like, don't be a jerk to people. That's just not okay. But there isn't enough emphasis on taking care of yourself and making sure that you're doing well and making sure that you are conscious of how you're doing inside, because like that's important. We just had World Mental Health Day a few days ago, I think maybe a week ago. My time perception is all messed up, but we just had that. Um, and that made me realize that a lot of the time, people wait until those days to actually acknowledge their mental health, but that's not okay. Mental health is a thing that you have to work on. You have to just make strides towards bettering and improving your mental health pretty much every single day. It's just a constant battle, and yeah, it sucks. But having that balance and having that self awareness and being able to acknowledge if something's too much, being able to acknowledge if you're getting burnt out, if you're taking on too much, if your priorities are all messed up, if you need to take a step back because you need to take care of yourself and yourself specifically, all of that goes into managing your mental health. And I feel like people just don't acknowledge that enough, myself included. I'm really bad at doing that. So not only is this video kind of a PSA of sorts, it's also like a call out post for myself because I just don't do those things, and I know I should because I'm saying it right now, but it's just so easy to forget those things unless you're actively thinking about it. Some ways that I make sure that I maintain balance when I do it is I make lists. I'm a list maker. It's because of multiple reasons, partially a balance thing, partially an anxiety thing, partially an OCD thing, but it is helpful. It's very helpful to make lists. And what I do, I started doing this, I think, towards the end of high school. I would make a list of all the things that I needed to do that day, and I would break it into chunks, because one part of making my life more balanced is making sure that I do things in small portions so that I don't get overwhelmed quickly. Anyway, what I would do is, say I had a list of 8 things. I would take that list and I would do 2 things at a time. I would do 2 things in however many hours, 2 more things in however many hours, until I was done with all 8 things. And what I noticed is when I did make those lists and I didn't finish all the things on it, I'd feel awful. I'd feel like I didn't accomplish anything. It could have been that out of the 8 things, I did 7 things that day. That one thing that I didn't do would make me feel terrible because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. My camera turned off. Anyway, as I was saying, even in a list of a bunch of things, if I didn't finish one thing, I would just feel awful and like I was failing. Even though I wasn't failing, I know I wasn't failing because I did things. But it's just the notion that you always have to be doing stuff and you always have to be exceeding your potential and exceeding expectations is just very toxic and doesn't really lend itself to finding a balance. It only lends itself to finding new ways to burn yourself out. And that has kind of been a thing that I've noticed since I've started making those lists. And since I've started being really conscious of, okay, I should give myself a limit of what I make myself do. Another thing that has helped me a ton is telling other people to hold me accountable. I know some people will probably be against this because they're like, well, I should just be able to do it myself, and like, why would I like involve other people in this? But having a really good support system is really important for mental health and for finding balance and for pretty much everything ever. Having people who are willing to be like, hi, take a break, you're stressed out, you're doing too much, you're taking on too much, we can tell that you're not doing great, we can tell that you're overwhelmed, and just take a break. Just take like a 20-minute break. Having those people in your life is extremely important, especially if you're someone like me who is prone to doing way too much, even though I know that it's not really within the amount of energy and mental capacity that I have. My third thing that helps me a lot when I'm trying to make sure that I'm maintaining balance and also just managing mental health things is writing everything down. You never really realize just how many things you do throughout the day until it's on paper. A thing that I haven't done as much, but like recently, but I used to do a lot, is whenever I did any task throughout the day, I would write it down in a journal. And then at the end of the day, when I was feeling like I didn't accomplish anything, because to me, I didn't do enough. There were people around me who were doing more. But at the end of the day, when I felt like I didn't do anything, I would look at that list of things that I did throughout the day, and I'd just see exactly how much I did, whether it was something as small as I got dressed, or something as big as I studied for an exam, or I went for a walk, which seems small to some people but is big for when you have mobility issues, or something like I cooked, I cleaned my entire room, I did laundry, or even I drank water. That's a task that takes energy to do. And so I would write everything down and I would see how many things I actually accomplish and also how much I push myself to do way more than I should be because I'm just so imbalanced and everyone is just so prone to not really looking for balance in their own lives that I didn't notice that I was doing way more than I needed to, was doing way more than I thought I was, and so I was holding myself to a completely unobtainable standard because, like, I was already doing a ton, especially for me. So, just making sure that you're aware of what you're doing and that you don't sell yourself short and that you make sure that the priorities that you're setting in place are actually important to you, not the priorities of the people around you, will make a gigantic difference in how balanced your life is, how good your mental health is, how you feel, the amount of energy that you're able to contribute to things that you want to do. Because I know that if I hadn't skipped my classes yesterday, I wouldn't have been able to do anything at all for the next 2 days. I would have, one, probably not made it to my classes yesterday, or back, maybe, and two, not absorbed anything, and that would have meant I couldn't have gone to ASL Club, which is something that's very important to me. I couldn't have studied for an exam that I have tomorrow because I wouldn't have had the energy because I would have gone to a class that I didn't need to go to because one of my accommodations is I get absences, but I feel super bad about using them. Just making sure that you're listening to yourself, making sure that the things that you are prioritizing in your life are things that you want to prioritize in your life. There are definitely some things that we can't avoid, like work things, certain assignments, you can't avoid them. Nasty adult things like bills and all of that, can't really avoid those, but you can have some control over what you put into the building that is your life, what bricks you decide to lay where, and being aware of where you're putting them will ultimately just make you a stronger person and make your life stronger and feel more meaningful and feel more balanced, and you'll be less burnt out. And I need to remind myself of that. I'm going to watch this video when I inevitably, in about a week and a half, decide that I want to try to write like a 6-page paper in one day because I need to get ahead because, like, I'm not doing enough. I'm going to watch this video and remind myself that balance is important, that I'm important, and that doing those things is not helping anyone, especially me, and that at the end of the day, my well-being is the most important thing. More important than a grade, more important than cleaning my room, more important than all of that, because if I'm not feeling at my best, then I can't give my best. And that's something that I need to realize and that I've been having issues with, and I'm sure other people have issues with that too. So if you do, let me know. I'd love to connect with our chaotic energy and our energizer bunny complexes and the need to do things, but also the energy to not do things, because I feel that so much. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell notification bell thing. I'm barely a YouTuber. Do what you want. If you like the video though, maybe like it. Subscribe if you feel like it. I'm posting more. I'm posting more. It's happening. This isn't a month after my last video. Woo! That's an improvement. Anyway, I'm gonna go take a nap or something before my class. So I hope y'all have a good day. I will see you in like a weekish, because that's what I'm gonna have my schedule be, weekly-ish, as it says in my banner thing. Anyway, yeah, balance your life. You're important. Okay, cool. Bye.